We are back with some breaking news on the Dallas Cowboys. Roster moves being made. The Cowboys have signed 2 players. This comes after they worked them out last week. They worked out 5 players in total. We'll break that down at the end of the show. Robert Rochell, the cornerback, and Perrion Winfrey, the defensive tackle. We'll get into that here on today's show. When news happens, we have you covered. Did we already film a separate video that was about to go out when this news broke? Yes, we did. But we got the news to discuss instead, so we'll put that one out tomorrow or maybe Friday instead of delaying there. Hit that sub button if you haven't already. You get multiple Cowboys videos, news when it happens every single day. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. Let's go with maybe the more household name. That is Perrion Winfrey, the former Oklahoma defensive tackle who was with the Browns, briefly with the Jets as well back in 2023, I believe, when he was alongside Aaron Whitecotton. Denzel Smart, who's doing some stuff for the Cowboys, was on that roster as well. So he reunites with Aaron Whitecotton, giving them some additional, I'd say, emphasize back end of the roster depth, but he was I think a fringe top 100 pick coming out of Oklahoma. Also, not quite fringe top 100 pick, but a little bit outside of that. Winfrey, by the way, was 108. Robert Rochell, the cornerback out of Central Arkansas, who was a later 4th-round pick. He comes on after kind of bouncing around the NFL as a journeyman type. Both of these players are closer to camp bodies than they are starting caliber options. But per the NFL transaction wire, the Cowboys have made the cuts as well to make room for these 2 guys, even though those signings actually weren't on the transaction wire yet. Luq Barcoo has been released. This is also kind of a former UFL player who has been a extreme journeyman over the course of his NFL career, was an undrafted free agent out of San Diego State, played for the Brahmas back in 2023, the San Antonio Brahmas. Steelers, his last team, picked up with the Cowboys, by the way. The practice squad, I think it was on January 1st officially, so it was not quite the full 7 months in Dallas for Barcoo. And then a recent draft pick, this one is maybe more notable, also released by the Cowboys, Justin Rogers, the 7th-round pick last year out of Auburn, who had been cut by Dallas, joined the Bengals, then rejoined the Cowboys down the stretch last year. He did not play in a game, by the way. He has been released from the organization as well. So specifically as it relates to Perrion Winfrey and Robert Rochell, will either player make the Cowboys roster? We'll go in-depth on those 2 and the release as well. This is the pinned comment, so go vote at that spot. Y for yes and for no if either guy will make the roster. Let's begin with Winfrey, who listed at 6'4", 290, right about that range. 4th-round pick out of Oklahoma, number 108 overall by the Cleveland Browns. This was in the 2021 NFL draft. 2022, NFL draft. Was with the Browns for 2022, and then didn't even get to his second training camp. More on that in a little bit. Had been released by Cleveland, picked up with the Jets, and then was not brought back after that season ended. Did not get a futures deal, and then spent this year with the Birmingham Stallions. He picked up with them back in mid-October, so spent the 2024/2025 campaign really with the Birmingham Stallions. Now a member of the Dallas Cowboys. He had been cut by the Browns after multiple issues in the 2023 offseason. All of these charges the 2023 charge was dropped. The April 2023 charge was kind of pled out and did a pretrial diversion program, but he faced a misdemeanor assault charge after an incident with his girlfriend in which she said he was hitting her, and that's not the first time, and that gets pled out. And then months later, at a hotel in Cleveland, he was accused of a robbery accusation with a different female after he allegedly pulled a gun on him when, based on the reports, she was just trying to say hi. It was a very weird incident, and the Browns had kind of had enough, and they cut him. And he spent briefly parts of 2023 with the Jets with Aaron Whitecotton, now the Cowboys defensive line coach. I think Denzel Smart was actually on that roster. He's now kind of doing some assistant stuff for the Cowboys. Winfrey had a good season in the UFL. 3 TFLs, 2 sacks, 33 tackles. Probably one of the better UFL defensive linemen that was available. I'll be honest, I don't think this fixes anything about your defensive tackle room. In fact, I actually feel worse about your nose guard room now. You cut Justin Rogers. He was a nose guard. I think Solomon Thomas, Perrion Winfrey at sub 300 pounds, those guys are not nose tackles. They're one techniques. They can do some run stopping, but doesn't make you feel good about going up against 330-pound guards, right? Akingbesote, I think, is kind of more of a practice squatter right now. Needs some development, but he's got some good size. You feel better about your three technique depth, sure, but I still think nose guard is a pretty big area of concern for this Cowboys team. More on the Robert Rochell signing, but Cowboys training camp gear is available. Chatsports.com/CowboysCamp. Hats, bucket hats, visors, t-shirts, hoodies, they've got you covered. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. That's chatsports.com/CowboysCamp. Let's get to the cornerback signing. This is the textbook. Stephen Jones, can we have Jair Alexander? We have Jair Alexander at home. It's a the Cowboys did sign a former Packers corner. It's just not the one anybody wanted. Also was a draft pick, 4th-round pick by the Los Angeles Rams back in 2021, coming out of Central Arkansas. Didn't last that long with the Rams. I don't think they ever really got the level of play that they were hoping for out of the now 27-year-old. He had been cut, final roster cuts, then bounced around practice squads in Seattle, in Carolina, picked up by the Packers in 2023 after spending time on the Panthers practice squad. They brought him back for 2024. He kind of bounced around the roster this past year, didn't play a lot on defense, was mostly special teams. Joined the Chiefs back in March and actually got cut in May, and now heading over to the Dallas Cowboys. He was picked 130, by the way, in that 2021 NFL draft. Did technically win a Super Bowl as well, which is kind of funny on top of that. The production speaks for itself. You know, played a decent amount back in 2021. He was involved on defense there, but he's really just been a special teamer ever since then. So the depth chart changes. Barcoo flips out. Rochell flips in. This feels like, again, closer to a camp body than an actual player. Like, if you have to play Robert Rochell and anything beyond the preseason, like, I think that's a bad sign. I think if you wanted a defensive tackle help, if you wanted cornerback help, I think you probably still want that right now. This is more of, which I think teams should do more of in general. I feel bad cutting people, but like, I think shuffling the back end of the roster, if you're going to be all competition focused, that's actually an easy way to go about doing it. So be honest with me. What's your excitement level over these signings? I think the answer's low because they're not supposed to be excitement level, like hyped signings. It's depth. That's camp bodies. That's all it is. So let me know in the comments of today's show. 1 to 10 is your scale. Want to go a bit more here on the cuts as well. Luq Barcoo, the San Diego State corner, his time is done. We'll see where he ends up. If he gets a chance, he could always end up going back to the UFL/XFL. He is only 26 years old, turns 27 later in July, but that's a semi-notable cut. Justin Rogers is the big one. Like, flopping out corners, that makes sense. You lost about 40 pounds of weight with these two defensive tackle moves. Based on their listed size, it's really almost 50 pounds, frankly. That's interesting to me. We'll do a video on this probably next week. Like, I'm even more in favor of, like, go find a nose guard. Right now, it's like it's not even really Mazi and the Funky Bunch anymore. It's like it's Mazi, Joia, and lightweights. That's not. I don't love that. So be honest with me. Would you have cut Justin Rogers? K for keep, C for cut. As a reminder, these were the workouts the Cowboys had last week. We did a full video on them. It was 2 defensive tackles. The now signed Perrion Winfrey, DeVary Levelston as well, was a pair of corners, Jerry Jacobs, and then, of course, the now signed Robert Rochell. Shout out Aaron Wilson, by the way, for breaking the news on the two signings. And then George Fance was also a workout for the Cowboys. He's had interest from a few different teams. I think with the addition of Rochell and Winfrey, you're probably not going to go pursue another option along the defensive line. But I do think these two are, probably done. It's not probably going to go Jacobs. Not going to go get Levelston. Maybe Fant could still be in play.